Hello, Gold viewers from around the world. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and one of the MCs here at Gold. And I'm very excited because today I'm chatting with fellow midwife, and she's also in IBCLC, Tine Greve. Welcome, Tine. It's so good to have you here with me today.
Thank you so much, Kristen.
So, Tina, you are part of our tongue tie symposium here at Gold 2025, and we're going to talk about the presentation in just a moment. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. And first of all, where in the world are you?
I am in Norway. I'm living in Norway. I am Danish, but I've lived in Norway for the last 34 years. So I'm a midwife, got my midwifery education in Copenhagen 35 years ago, and I've been IBCLC since 2000. So I've been working as a midwife with focus on physiological childbirth and breastfeeding as like my specialties. And then during the last 10 years, I've been working more and more towards babies with very complex feeding difficulties, often caused by tongue ties and tension patterns. And I see as a midwife and an
Mhm.
IBCLC the connection between how birth is conducted and how that affects breastfeeding and what kind of difficulties that can pose.
You for us, it's perfect what you just mentioned there. Birth comes into play here, right? As a midwife, of course, that is for me and for other fellow midwives. This is a very important part of looking at the breastfeeding journey. What happened to birth, and but it is also very important for our IBCLCs and lactation consultants and such to know a little bit about what happened at birth, like, right? It's so important if the baby just comes a little, asynclitic out, it can have big effects on feeding, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the things I'm going to actually cover in my presentation. So I'm going to look at symptoms that can come from tongue ties. And a tongue tie is a so a structural issue that can impair function in a baby. But tension patterns, they can also impair function. And the symptoms from a tension pattern and from a tongue tie can be very similar. So it's all about understanding how you can differentiate and how you can help a baby with the feeding difficulties that is due to a tongue tie or that's due to muscular issues.
That's so important. In recent years, we talk about more about tongue tie, right? I mean, this has become a topic that has become really in the forefront. A few years ago, I remember we barely talked about it. Now, not barely talked about it, but now it's become really an issue where lots of people are seeking education about it, right, and furthering their education. But we also hear more from parents because they hear more about the topic of tongue tie. So does it happen to you often that a parent comes to you with a baby, and because the parent has read something about tongue tie, that they come to you and say like, "Oh, I know my baby's tongue tie," and then you look at the baby and go like, "Oh, this is not really actually the case." Does it
Mm.
happen often to you?
Yeah. So this is actually, I think, one of the very difficult things about tongue tie have been like coming up in the awareness during the last maybe 10, 15 years. And I think this is when something new comes around,
Right.
every baby has that issue. And I remember back like 25 years ago, it was, and 20 years ago, it was kiss syndrome. That is an upper neck issue that all babies that were crying had kiss syndrome, and then all babies had thrush, and all moms have uh, fungal infections in the breast, and so there's always this popular diagnosis. And I think that tongue ties has come up in a bit in that group as well. Like maybe 15 years ago, it was overproduction that was suddenly the thing. All moms with breastfeeding issues had overproduction as a contradiction to what it was earlier, not enough milk. And then came the tongue ties. And at this point now, I teach a lot about this. And sometimes I have to say that this almost have become like a religious question about whether you believe in tongue ties or not. And this is what we hear also from other providers, that you have parents coming with a baby with very, very complex feeding problems, and they have Googled the symptoms and they comment, oh, this baby is tongue tied. And then maybe they take a photo of the baby's tongue and they post it in a Facebook group and get diagnosed with a tongue tie because the symptoms fit. And you can see that the tongue is lifting properly. And then they come to me and to ask if what can they do because the baby's tongue tied. And this is where the differentiation in diagnosis is so important, because what we unfortunately also see because of this is babies who are not tongue tied have a perfect normal frenulum cut just based on symptoms. So of course, when we focus on tongue ties as an issue, we get more babies that get diagnosed correctly with a tongue tie and treated correctly because they are tongue tied. That's very good. But we
Mhm.
also, in that same thing here, have a bit of overtreatment of symptoms, so that you do a frenectomy based on symptoms, not based on actual evaluation, whether it is an actual too short frenulum or a frenulum that's in the wrong place. That's
Mm.
the cause of the breathing problems. And this is why differential diagnosis has become one of my sort of key points in my presentations, because it is so important so that we actually don't overtreat this.
Yeah, don't overtreat. And for many parents, maybe they have read something about about tongue tie, that a release is really like they maybe in their Facebook groups or their mom groups they hear, oh, my baby had a tongue release, and immediately right after breastfeeding was a miracle. It's all going well.
I got
But
an
these
baby.
yeah, but often these expectations are very unrealistic, right, Tina? So how do you work with parents to make sure that, yeah, they stay positive and have that right information and correct medical information, but also not overpromise that they feel like, oh, this is the solution to everything.
Yeah. So I always start telling the parents that I do not have that magic crystal ball. I can't tell you how this will affect your baby. But I can talk about the expectations that we see based on our experience, the evidence that is out there, and talking to other providers. What is that we see? What patterns do we see? So, depending on the symptoms, what kind of relief are we expecting that this baby may have from a tongue tie release? And be very honest, never to promise anything. Um, so also, we can take a look at what kind of tongue tie does the baby have, because there's so many different types, and different types can mean different difficulties for each baby. And because a baby have a type 1 and this baby have a type 1, their symptoms can be very, very different. And the way that they respond to a release can be very, very different. But I would say, and heart, my hand on my heart, that we've never ever experienced doing a release and not having some kind of relief of symptoms. But we
Mhm.
can never promise which kinds that will be the first one, which will take a little bit longer. So when
Mhm.
we're talking about rehabilitation after a release, we're talking maybe about 6 to 8 weeks of rehabilitation until the process is at a point where we can see, okay, we have this and this and this improvement in the baby.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, set expectations and also being very honest about it, and also mention that time frame that it really takes. It's not an immediate. Yes, there might be an immediate relief in some of the symptoms, but we can't promise anything. Yeah, absolutely. So Tina, before I let you go, any final wise words? What are you hoping our viewers will take away from your presentation?
So, as I said, the differentiation in
Hmm.
diagnosis is it's key, because if you treat a tongue tie, release a tongue tie or a frenulum, short frenulum, based on the wrong sort of assessments, just looking at the symptoms, you may not get the relief you need. In addition, you can actually make it worse. So, differential diagnosis, I think, is the main focus of the presentation, what I want people to go home with, and how to create a pre release plan. because it's not a quick fix. It's not cut and run. So that understanding that this is a process, and it's a long process. So I have an expression that I use with the parents, because when the parents come, very often they are at the verge of collapsing because they can't stand this anymore, and they would like me to have that baby released yesterday, preferably. Yeah. So we are always talking about, yeah, we have to hurry, but we have to hurry slowly, because we need to do the evaluations of if this is actually the frenulum that's the problem, or if it's something else, and what release can do and what release can't do
Yeah.
as well. Mm.
Wow. Well, Tine, thank you so very much for being here with us today. I can't wait for your presentation. It's going to be absolutely fabulous. So thank you so much
I'm
for being
looking so much forward to meet everybody out there.
fantastic. And now some information for our viewers. If you are interested in this presentation and in our other presentations, and of course our keynote presentation that will be live and open access on September 15th, we invite you to go to goldtonguetie.com for more information and how you can sign up and be part of this wonderful symposium. And I really hope to see everyone there at the symposium. Thank you everyone for watching. Bye bye everyone.